All right, for my presentation, I picked Partners Relief and Development. They are an aid organization that is focused mostly in southern and western Asia, so like Myanmar, Thailand, around that area, and they're starting to creep a little bit more into the Middle East as need arises. A little summary about them: they work in areas afflicted by violence, whether that's active oppression by the government, whether that's war, whether that's really racism that's just gotten out of control. A lot of different areas that just have discrimination and issues like that. They come in and they try and bring peace, they try and bring stability to some of these communities that are especially afflicted, and they really focus on enabling children, trying to help them escape the future that the idiots around them have created. Their purpose, they identify it on their website as having three main goals: sustainable development, strengthening families, and emergency relief, with the first two obviously being more planned, more structured, and the last kind of just going where you're needed and reacting as quickly as possible, providing what you see as the needs that are most necessary. Their methods, they have a lot of different projects that they're working on right now. They react to a lot of different issues in a lot of different ways. I picked four that I thought were representative of their efforts. Income generation: a lot of the women who are leading families in these areas don't have a whole lot of marketable skills or job training. So they train these women to weave. This gives the women a marketable skill that they can get paid for, a salary they can get paid for, and then also something to sell. So a lot of different ways for them to provide there. And it lets them, even after Partners has left the area, where they've started to phase out, these women will be left with a skill that they can use to provide for themselves and for their families. Healthcare training: they have a sort of internship program where they train the people in these communities to provide mostly preventative care, so like vaccinations, dental care, health checkups, screening, stuff like that. And then there's another level to their internship program where if you stay a little bit longer, you can start to do some early curative stuff, so identifying issues, medication, stuff like that. Another project they work on is creating sustainable schools. They actually work on placing people and businesses in these communities, and then that money that they derive from this business goes directly into schools so that they can pay for not only supplies but also salaries for teachers, so that teachers don't have to be part-time, teachers don't have to be worrying about where they're going to be making money, because that can be their sole focus, that can be their entire job. And so you get more high-quality education and people that are coming in to do this and do a good job at it, and it provides a better future for their students and for their children. And then emergency relief: pretty straightforward. They try and identify the needs of these people, the immediate issues that they can address, and try and get there and address it as effectively as possible, usually with food, water, medical care, temporary shelter. We see this most recently in the Turkey-Syria conflict. They've tried to be very active there. A lot of refugees are heading over to northeastern Syria, and Partners has met them with these care packages you see in the picture. Lots of food there, lots of water. They're met there by these Partners people, and they try and address these needs as much as they possibly can. It's also interesting because they do their best to update people that follow them on social media about what's actually happening in these areas, whether or not ceasefires are actually effective, whether or not one side is being the aggressor, whether the other side is reacting. Stuff that might get lost in the shuffle between politicized news networks, between governments trying to save face. They come in there as a third party with no agenda and really try and give you the most accurate take possible, which is very appreciated by the people that are following them. So in conclusion, I think the main takeaway from what I've talked about here and why I chose them is I love their approach of not being a crutch, not being something that's meant to prop up a community, but something that's meant to rehabilitate a community, something that's meant to provide people with the necessary skills to survive on their own. Partners is not meant to be there forever. Partners is meant to come in, train these people in skills, rebuild what they can, and then eventually allow them to survive on their own. This isn't a bunch of rich white people coming from a different part of the world and saying, here, let us live for you. Let us support you in a way that we can never leave. This is meant to be a temporary thing that allows these people to live independently and allows them to thrive in their own culture. I think it's very cool that they don't try to take over. They don't try to be this community, but they really do want to let it be as soon as possible and leave them significantly better than they found it. I think it's a very honest and very hopeful approach, which is very refreshing because a lot of the areas they work on, they could use a little hope. So hopefully I get to present some more information about this excellent organization later in the semester.